So today, I want to share with you a mistake that I made. A mistake where I actually had to get very real and become very vulnerable and admit that I was wrong. Several years ago, I had a chance to meet a police officer who was, at that point in time, 42 years old. He unfortunately became paraplegic in the line of duty and found himself could not walk or live on his own. He was part of a federal program that actually provided transition services from nursing homes into institutions. So just imagine at the age of 42 being in a nursing home. This program actually helped to transition him back into the community. He was extremely grateful because this program actually provided the services and support to retrofit his home so he can actually age in the community for as long as possible. So when I had a chance to actually meet with him, I asked him, "How are you spending your day?" And what he said to me actually startled me, because at that point in time, our goal was to transition people out of nursing homes back into the community, because that is what we thought was good. That is what we thought was normal, and honestly, that's what he wanted. What we learned in the course of that interaction was the fact that he spent most of his time alone. He had a personal care attendant who came during the day, in the morning, and left around noon. His family didn't come home until about 6. He would have liked to utilize that time to go to the community center, to go to the local library, or in many cases visit his buddies at the police station. But you see, he lived in a cul-de-sac, and public transit only came to the entryway of his neighborhood. So imagine this, he could see the bus stop, but he had no way to get to it, let alone on it. We're here at the Social Innovation Summit, thinking about ways in which we can create solutions to meet the needs of individuals. And what I remember about that interaction was the fact that what we had done was not transition him from one institution back into the community. What we had done was actually transition him from one institution to another. That is a tough pill to swallow, because we thought what we were doing was good, but honestly, it was not good enough. Let's be honest, the last 2 years has really been tough on all of us. And when things get tough, we take a moment to recenter and reaffirm who we are, what we value, and then move forward. When the United States and the world, more frankly, look 5, 10, 15 years from now, what will we have accomplished? That is actually up for us to decide today. So in the time that I have with you, I just want to talk about 2 points. The first one is the courage to build something new. It's fair to say that we've been through a lot, and now we need to muster up the courage to build something new. The second is the fact that inaction is a decision that we cannot afford to make. So what does it actually take to build something new? Brian Stevenson, Executive Director of the Equal Justice Initiative, said it best. You cannot be an effective problem solver from a distance. There are nuances and details you will miss unless you actually get close. Like I had to get close to that police officer in Richmond, Virginia, just to realize that we had imprisoned him when we thought we actually gave him the choices that he wanted. It takes courage to get close to problems. It takes courage to admit that what you supported was wrong, or at least insufficient. It takes courage to be able to actually listen, learn, evolve, and adapt, and collaborate. And honestly, that's what we have to do now more than ever. We have to have the courage to engage communities fully. We have to have the courage to listen and learn. We have to have the courage to engage from a position that actually looks at what people bring rather than what they actually lack. The Latin root word of courage is cor, which means of the heart. So as we start to do this amazing work, we have to do it with heart. The second point is the fact that inaction is something that we cannot afford to make. Inaction means that things don't get better, it actually gets worse. But we need to have the courage to understand that. What would it look like if everyone had an opportunity to live to their fullest potential? Disparities and inequity were common practice well before the pandemic. COVID only exemplified, exacerbated, spotlighted the glaring inequities in our system that has always been there. It is not your genetic code, but your zip code that determines how long you might actually live. On average, there is this widening gap in longevity. Imagine this. In Atlanta, life expectancy drops by 13 years between Bankhead and Buckhead. Think about that. 13 years. Two neighborhoods, less than 10 miles apart. Now I want to ask you this question. What did you do in the last 13 years? Now imagine if you did not have that opportunity. Does that seem fair to you? All neighborhoods and all residents should have the same opportunity to live long lives, to be able to watch their grandchildren grow old, to play card with their neighbors and friends, to go to the local library. We have an opportunity now to start to build a system that's more inclusive, that's more resilient, that is more empathetic, that actually takes the person at the center. We have an opportunity as leaders across industries and sectors to build and construct a future that builds wealth, strengthens health, and ensures the same economic and education opportunity, not just for the privileged, but those who are historically marginalized and everyone in between. But we have to be brave enough to want it, confident enough to plan for it, and thoughtful enough to make it happen. So in addition to having courage, and in addition to thinking about the actions that we need to take, we need to start telling ourselves a new story, and then share that story with others. We have an opportunity to create a post-COVID America that is much more stronger than the original. In everything that we do, and with everything that we have, we are the change that we've been waiting for. So as I come to a close, as we think about the opportunities to close the longevity gap, I want to leave you with another data point. If we do nothing, the cost of these disparities by 2030 will be $1.6 trillion. That's less than 8 years from now. So in other words, these disparities that I talked about stifles economic growth and impacts all of us. We will see a loss of $1.1 trillion in consumer spending by 2030. So this is not just a social, which is critically important, moral, which is imperative, but it's also an economic necessity. We cannot afford to be on the sidelines. So in closing, I want to leave with you one of my favorite quotes from John Lewis. In his book, Across That Bridge, A Vision for America, he says that it is only through history do we understand where we stand on the continuum of change. It is only through history. One day this pandemic will be history. Will it be a noticeable blip 100 years from now? Or will this actually be a moment in time where things got worse? It is really up for us to decide as leaders through the courage that we have and the ability to act. Continuum of change is where we've been, is where we are, is where we're headed. Where are you on this continuum of change? Again, that is up to us to decide through the courage we have and the ability to act. And one of the last phrases that I really enjoy about this quote is become aware. Become is to actually begin to be. Aware is having the knowledge of where we are. Become aware means the fact that we're never too old, too tired, too poor, too rich to begin to be. So as we start to go down this path, as we start to think about what this new normal might look like for us, we have an amazing opportunity to think about how do we ensure that everyone has an opportunity to live a longer, healthier, more productive life? And how do we write the script of a post-COVID America and that blueprint that ensures that it's more resilient, more inclusive, and much more powerful than original. Thank you, everybody.